welcome back everyone. Are you hungry after reading that article? I certainly am, as a fan of lobster.
Did you just say eating that article?
No.
Oh, I thought
Maybe
you said.
I think I said reading.
Okay.
I'm hungry. Oh, now I've got food on the brain. So this article starts us off with a bit of history on lobster as a food. Apparently in the 19th century and earlier, it wasn't really thought of as anything special. It was often fed to pets. It was fed to prisoners. It was even used as a sort of fertilizer because they couldn't sell it. No one was interested. It doesn't really tell us that much about exactly what changed.
Or why, anything.
I need to do a Google search on that. But anyway, society has changed. We have developed a taste for lobster to such an extent it's become quite an exclusive, luxurious, high-priced food that, is so expensive, it's quite prohibitive for your average person to eat, at least on a regular basis. So I guess thinking about what it was like to be a prisoner, over 100 years ago, being fed a lobster dinner every other night, makes me feel quite jealous. Yeah, because wow,
I mean,
you don't know what it tastes like. You don't know. Anyway, so comparatively speaking, it seems like prisoners were living in the lap of luxury. That's the preamble to the article. So then we turn to modern day Italy, a very fancy restaurant. They serve lobster, they've got the live tanks there. And if you've ever eaten lobster in the modern day, you know that they tend to serve it as fresh as possible. So in many places you can literally pick your lobster, they will take it out and dump it straight into the hot water to cook it and then send it straight out to your table. Now, this is a little controversial because as research is going on into the lobster as an animal, we're starting to find out that they're actually much more sentient than we ever realized before. So particularly that method of preparation, the drop them into boiling hot water, we don't really know, can they feel that? Some people claim it puts the lobster to sleep, or it stuns it so it can't feel its own death, but we don't really know about that. So many people are against it. Anyway, so back to the restaurant. A lovely lady walks in and she orders lobster linguine, and the chef, a waiter, takes her to the tank to pick out her lobster, weigh it, figure out the price, how much for that amount of lobster, and then she says, okay, if I just drop it in the ocean, which is over there, the restaurant's right on the coast.
Very important part.
I should have said that earlier. If I drop it in there, will it be okay? And the guy said, well, yeah, that's the sea. He'll live fine. And so that's exactly what she does. She pays for the lobster, but then takes him to the edge of the restaurant, plop, drops him in the ocean and watches him swim away freely. And, the restaurant was pretty happy with that. She felt like she'd done her little good deed for the day, and obviously the lobster survived to live another day. A win-win-win scenario. So a cool tale. She did her a good deed, and maybe she might have even influenced a few of the other patrons or people reading this article to think twice about the lobster that they're eating.
I wonder if she got her linguine in the end.
Oh yeah, maybe you can have it without the lobster.
Like, don't just give me the linguine now.
I hope so. I hope she still got to eat something.
And the owner was like, oh, we'll just catch that later and resell it.
Send out the little kitchen boy with a fishing rod.
Yeah.
Although you can't catch him with
I think it's cages.
Yes, with a lobster pot. That was it, lobster pot.
A lobster pot, which is also what they call the thing they boil them in. Lobster pots.
So let's go back to the beginning of the article, which is about changing prices of food. Can you think of a food in your country or anywhere maybe that
thank goodness.
is considered expensive now but used to be considered a food for poor people?
Actually, I've had a lot of thought about this because America itself doesn't really have, like you've said, we don't really have our own food. We have food from every other country and then we brought it in. America does have something called a brain sandwich, which I feel like is a little unique to America. I don't think it was ever considered a poor food or anything like that. It's still quite inexpensive. considering. I think it's just called a unique item. But things like, what's it called? Beef tartare, escargot, head of lamb, these sort of foods that might be considered delicacies in the countries that they're in, although, head of lamb. Anyways.
Sorry, Poland.
Yeah. They often were originally because they were too poor to not eat the head of the lamb. They sold the body because they need money, and then they're like, well, we have the heart, we have the lungs, we have the guts, we have the head, let's put it into a haggis and eat it. You know what I mean? Like, that type of stuff happened a lot over the world. So I think a lot of our delicacies are actually poor people food from back in the day.
Yeah, we just seem to sort of cycle through trends, you know. When I was growing up, certainly the best cuts were considered to be like the prime rib or the T-bone steak, but now it might be considered a delicacy to have tripe on a high-class menu. Whereas I remember my grandmother serving tripe to my dad and his brother, you know, as the cheapest meal because they couldn't afford anything else. So yeah, things come in cycles, in trends.
It's delicious though, tripe.
Actually, there's one I've never tried.
Try it in a soup first. That's a good gateway for tripe. Yeah.
So, now concerning the second part of the article, are there any foods that you refuse to eat because the preparation method is too cruel?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the biggest reason I haven't eaten lobster, but it is now one of the reasons. I didn't know quite how they were cooked. I just never thought about it. But I'm sure crab and lobster are cooked the same way. Also, something in Korea called sangnakji, which is a live octopus, which can be either eaten whole, which is not recommended, or chopped up. And just knowing that octopuses have several brains, I believe eight or nine of them, means that no matter where you cut them, they're gonna feel it. You know, it's just...
And they're smart.
And they're smart. And it's not even about the smartness. Even if, like, lobsters were the dumbest animal on the planet, it's still the dumb animal that feels pain. It just does. I feel bad killing even mosquitoes. Like, they still feel things. They still have a life. They still have impulses and
but
instinct.
Not mosquitoes, though.
But they do. You know why they bite you? They bite you because they're trying to feed their children. And
No,
it's
they're
just
not.
like
They're just evil spirits that do it to hurt you.
I wish they were. And it's difficult because I do kill insects because I have to sometimes, and I do have to eat, and I have decided to also eat animals. But the preparation method does matter. And there's just a few things out there, like when some restaurants will put the live octopus in the boiling pot.
I can't watch it die. I can't watch it die.
I can't do it. I'm like, okay. All right, let me just go ahead and find that very interesting on the ceiling.
We've got some even more disgusting or despicable European examples, like foie gras, if you are familiar with how ducks are force-fed grain over a long period of time to over-fatten their livers, so they then can be harvested for foie gras. Veal, another amazing European food where baby cows are chained in the dark to the floor, so they cannot move around to keep the meat white and tender. I think we've got some pretty sickening practices that are even worse than the live execution in a public space. Or certainly slower and more painful ways to die.
There's so many terrible types of foods out there. Stop it.
Well, if you were feeling hungry earlier, I'm sure you're not now. So, before you take a stroll down death row and kill the next animal to eat it, take a look at the vocabulary and feel a lot better about yourself. It's time for a reprieve. Enjoy a stick of broccoli, and give yourself some good karma in the next life. And we'll see you in the next article. Bye-bye.
Bait.
Bait.
Fertilizer.
Fertilizer.
Death row.
Death row.
Sentient.
Sentient.
Karma.
Karma.